Hi. Apologies for running just a few minutes late today. Just a few little technical issues this morning, but that's okay. I thought today I was actually out running this morning, and big shout out to anyone who's watching from CrossFit Cranbourne, because that was a hard workout today. So lots and lots of running, and then a little bit more running after that today. And I do probably my best thinking when I'm out running. I really love it. I wasn't probably loving it about 3Ks in this morning, but I really love it. It's my meditation. I'm not one for sitting still and meditating, but I actually really love just thinking when I'm out running and kind of switching the brain off. I do little maths in my head. I'm a bit of a maths nerd. At least I was when I was at high school. So I try and work out how far I've got to go and how much I've run, and just kind of keep my brain busy. And by doing that, that's almost a mindfulness technique where you are you're concentrating quite intently on one thing, and what that does is it actually gets rid of all the other rubbish in our head. So it actually clears your mind to be able to think of other things. And I was thinking about my trip through running, and it's been a little bit up and down. For those of you who don't know, I used to do triathlon, and I much preferred to do longer distances of triathlon. And then when I had my kids, I stopped running, and then I looked at I've started getting back into running. And after this morning, I haven't done a lot of long distance stuff recently, but after this morning I realised how much I love it. So I'm going to get back into it after this morning. So again, shout out to Stuart from CrossFit. He got me back into running, so thank you. But what it got me thinking about was a concept called pacing, because I was thinking about, okay, how am I going to start this again? Because if I just go out and run what I used to run, obviously that's going to be a bad thing for my joints, my muscles, and really, overloading everything. I also, again, for those of you who don't know, I have persistent pain. What I mean by that is I don't have pain on a daily basis, but I did have a back injury when I was somewhere between 13 and 15. I had 2 prolapse discs in my back, and they pushed on the nerves that join to form the sciatic nerve. And I had fairly long-term sciatic pain, and that turned into a persistent pain problem. So I still have numbness in my left leg, and I also have much more sensitivity in that leg than I do in my other. So if I drop something on my left foot, it hurts considerably more than if I drop the same thing on my right foot. So what I thought I'd talk about today is just pacing as a strategy. And this can be used, it doesn't necessarily have to be used for someone who has persistent pain, but it's a really good strategy for that. It can be used for anything. So if you think about anything that you're doing right now, or anything that you want to do in the future, that you want to increase, and you've either struggled to increase it in the past, or you want to take a sensible approach to increasing it, okay? So I'll base this around something that you have struggled with because of pain, and you can kind of then do that to effort if you like, okay? So this is how we normally do things. I'm just going to draw a little graph here. So this is pain or effort, and this is time, okay? So what we normally do is we start, if we're going to let's talk about running, okay? Because it's just on my mind right now. If we start at nothing, so nothing, couch potato territory, okay? So no running. And we go, do you know what? I'm going to start running. And we go and run 5Ks, okay? What will happen when you have got a persistent pain condition, or maybe you're a little bit older and our soft tissue doesn't really like us when we do pretty significant bouts of an activity without gradually increasing and gradually pacing into that. what happens is we go, oh my God, I can't walk, I'm too sore, I'm going to do nothing. Okay, and you take a significant dip in your activity levels. Then once you've rested and recovered, you remember what this feels like, you remember what the endorphins feels like, you remember what the achievement feels like, and you go, oh, I'm going to do that again. And then the cycle continues. Okay? What happens with a persistent pain condition though is one of two things. Can you see with the downward trend? So what tends to happen is either we do too much and it's this area that we feel pain, okay? And then we think, but I did 5Ks last time, so I'm going to do 5Ks again. But now, because our nervous system has become sensitized, because it's threatened by what we did here, and it's threatened by that pain. It tries to avoid that pain, so its theory is it warns you sooner, but therefore, if you've done the same amount of activity, you get pain for longer or more pain. Same deal, more pain. But now we're sensible. We actually start reducing our activity, but we still keep feeling pain because we basically stop as a reaction to the pain rather than stopping before we get the pain and pacing, okay? Another thing that can happen is that strategy. So if you think about this as our pain threshold, then what's happening is we're running 5Ks, we've hit that pain threshold, for instance. This might be 2Ks. We've hit that pain threshold, and then what happens, we hit it again, and then we actually say, oh, do you know what, I'll just run 1.8Ks. But because we've sensitized our nervous system up here, our pain still starts at 1.8. And then we run, 2.4, 1K, whatever this amount is. And we're further sensitizing our nervous system and further sensitizing our nervous system. Okay, and so we're decreasing. What we're doing by doing this, by actively decreasing, so some people think this is a good strategy, we'll decrease and we'll find out where we don't have pain. What happens though is we're deconditioning. So if we take this from a running perspective, you could be deconditioning your cardiovascular system, so we get less fit. You could be deconditioning your muscles so they get less strong, okay? Simplifying this, if we look at this from a lifting point of view, okay? I can lift 10 kilos, 10 kilos, 8 kilos, 6 kilos, 4 kilos. Think about this from a sitting perspective, okay? Sitting at work, I can sit for half an hour, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, okay? So you can use any thing that you can quantify, you can put a number to, you can pace, okay? So for anyone who is watching this live or is watching this on recording, put your hand up if this actually makes sense in terms of, or it's familiar. So it's something that you have experienced in the past, okay? So doing too much activity, sensitizing your nervous system or deconditioning, and then you end up doing less than what you could do before, okay? So there's a better way. So this is the better way. So again, same timeline, okay? Time across the bottom, effort or pain up the side. What we're going to do to start with is we're actually going to figure out how much can we do without pain or without that fear, like where can we get to where we're comfortable. We want to be on the upper end of comfortable, yeah, so we want to be just bordering on uncomfortable. But what can we do where we're comfortable, okay? So let's say for me, from what I did today, I was at 5Ks today. So let's say we did, let's say 1 kilometre. So this is 1 kilometre, okay? And that's going to be our threshold, okay? So our threshold where if we did more than 1 kilometre, we would get pain. But if we do less than 1 kilometre, we don't get pain. Okay, and this could be pain at the time or pain afterwards. Okay, so you need to sort of test out and see where you're at. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 20% off that. So we're going to run 800 metres. Okay, and depending on what the issue is for you, that 800 metres might be 800 metres, have a rest, run another 800 metres, 800 metres, have a rest, run another 800 metres, which is kind of what I did today. So I ran 4.8 Ks, but I did it in 1.6 K stints. Okay. Now, in saying that I'll probably pay for that tomorrow. So this is why I was thinking about this pacing while I was out running. So looking at that 800 metres, okay, we're going to do that for, let's call it a week. Or let's call it one time period, because it really depends on how many times you do this particular activity, how many times you would do that in a week to see whether, we might stretch it out to a fortnight or a month, okay? So it's just 800 metres in one time period. Then we add 10% to that. So we're going to do 880 metres, time period 2. Then we're going to add 10% to that again, okay? So you're kind of getting what we're trying to achieve here, yeah? So what that looks at is 968 metres, okay? Now, do you need to do 968 metres? No, 968 metres is your limit. You might do 950, just the same as if you were doing this as time and you were doing something for a minute and you were then going to do it for 80% of a minute, and then your numbers start getting down to seconds. Round it down to whatever that is a comfortable and a manageable time frame for you. Then the next week we're going to do 1,064. Again, we might do 1,050. Okay? And the question I get asked all the time is, when you go past that original pain threshold, well, won't I get pain? I got pain. If I went over a K, I got pain. What happens in this time is that pain threshold starts going up. Now, if you remember, and I've just wiped that out with my hand, our pain threshold was going down because we were sensitizing our nervous system. In this example, we're going up. And the reason why that happens is, there's quite a few reasons, but the main reason that I have found is most people live in this cycle for months and months and years, okay? Achieving, then not achieving, achieving, then not achieving, gradually declining capacity. It's devastating. It makes you feel like you're not achieving anything. It makes you feel like, hopeless, or, you think about all those emotions that are associated with it. When we're in this situation, we're achieving, we're feeling hopeful, we're being able to run with no pain for the first time in however long. So you're just really looking at that stepwise progression upwards, and that pain threshold will actually hopefully stay above where you're at, okay? What happens? What are the common errors? So for the last couple of minutes, I'll just cover off on what the common errors are. Most people, and I don't know why, it usually happens around week 6, do this. Okay, so they're doing really, really well and they're tracking along at 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%. Oh, I went for a run with a friend and did 2.5 Ks. And they've got pain. And they get disappointed. The beautiful thing is they can just come back to see, where are you at? Did you go over your threshold? Yep, cool, great, pull it back and keep going. If they're now getting pain here because they've got a little bit more pain sensitivity, all we do is we just reassess where we're at in this starting and just start again. We're just starting from a higher point. So I hope that makes sense in terms of pacing. I'm happy to chat with people one-on-one. It's a really easy strategy to set up, and it's really about just giving you some instructions on how to find that threshold initially. So how to find your border of comfortable and uncomfortable, and then really it's just a numbers game after that, and it's a numbers game and sticking to the plan. The plan can be frustrating, the plan can be slow initially, because that 10% can be really, really small right at the start. But as your numbers get bigger, then your percentages get bigger, so your steps get bigger, so your progression gets quicker. So remember that this can be done for anything that you can put a number to. So if you can put a time to it, if you can put a number of repetitions to it, if you can put a weight to it, if you can put a distance, so anything that you can quantify in a number, you can pace. And this doesn't have to be from a pain point, like a persistent pain point of view. It can be from an injury recovery. So it can be getting back to running after an injury or after surgery. It can be, doing a new sport or a new activity or a new exercise that you haven't done before and you're a little bit worried about it, irritating an old injury. So there's heaps of ways that we can use pacing. It's a really, really useful strategy. But like I said, it's a numbers game and it's about sticking to that plan. So I hope that helped today. If you've got any questions at all, please feel free to post them below or shoot me a PM. And like I said, I'm happy to chat one-on-one with anyone who wants to implement this strategy and just wants a little bit more guidance in terms of how they would do that, whether it be how to quantify a certain activity or how to actually work out those numbers. So shoot me a message or comment below and let me know if you've got any questions. Otherwise, I will see you next week, Tuesday, 12 o'clock, to answer all your questions then. Bye, have a great week.